Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Maximum warp. Punch it. Punch it.
Punch it, Bishop!
Punch it.
Punch that shit!
Let's punch it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Punch It. I am your co-host, Tristan Riddell, and with me, as always, is...
Charlene Schmidt.
Today, we are honoring a promise that we made last week. And last week, we talked about reunions and revivals and reboots and everything like that, about how the nostalgia factor is really kicking in and how they're coming at us really hard. And so we were talking about what's something that would be fun and lighthearted and interesting, something from our childhoods that would be nice to have a revival, whether it's a series of episodes or a reunion show, a reunion episode, or a TV movie, something like that. We bounced around ideas for like Cheers or Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but I think we finally nailed Home Improvement, the Tim Allen show that aired originally in 1991.
That seems so long ago and yet not.
That feels like forever ago to me.
I mean, it does, but it doesn't. It's a strange thing. I mean, I don't know. I feel like the older you get, the more life is a blur. So that could have been yesterday. It could have been. It is more than 20 years ago. It's all the same anymore.
I was 5 or 6 at the time when it aired.
Yes. I was in elementary school. I was just a little bit older than you. So, yes, it really was a while ago, and we were very young.
Young and naive, and so
yes.
Yeah, and so like some of you might be thinking like oh my gosh, like you're not exactly striking while the iron is hot. This show was in 91 and ended in 99, but that's just the thing, is that Roseanne is coming back, Xena is coming back, X-Files
Right.
is coming back, all these 90s shows,
We talked about all of it.
are coming back, and so
Yeah, the nostalgia factor is so high. I feel like any show that's been made within the last 25 years is practically up for grabs. So why not Home Improvement? Why not any show that you liked from the 90s at this point?
yeah, I feel like there's just executives with a dartboard, and they throw it at the door, and they're like, okay,
And then
boom, Roseanne
bam!
revival. There we go.
There we go. Okay, we're going to go do that. It's just about, I think, as effective as what is really happening. So, yeah, I think that's a completely valid theory.
Like, that we're just like a breath away from getting a Perfect Strangers reboot and a Family Matters reunion.
Oh my God. Perfect Strangers. Speaking of which, I saw that the two cast members who played Balky and, oh God, what is his name even? I even watched this show, but it's been so long. They reunited. They took a photo not that long ago. So...
Oh, that's interesting.
So there is that much, and who knows, maybe that will spark the Perfect Strangers revival. And yeah, you know what? I think my nostalgia funny bone has just been tickled to death at this point. Once we're done with this Home Improvement reunion show, I think I'm done for a good long while.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like, all things have trends and all things have waves. And, I feel like the superhero era will die down eventually.
That's another thing I'm sick of, by the way, is I am so completely not interested in any more superhero films ever. Or at least a very long freaking time. I mean, that is all that seems to be dominating in the cinemas. And I'm sorry, I know that a lot of our Nerd Party audience is big on these, and a lot of our fellow hosts on the network are huge into these films. Sorry, unpopular opinion, I could not care any less than I do, because it's nil.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is that I'm not down to nil, but my excitement level has definitely plummeted since Dark Knight was out and Iron Man 1 was out and everything like that. So basically,
Yeah. It's just exhaustion, and same goes for this nostalgia thing. So let's take one big deep breath, knock this out, and then move on.
I think what we talked about last week was you were going to come to the table with a story in mind, and so was I, and then we were going to move forward with one of them, or an amalgamation or something like that.
Yes, we're going to have our pitch, and then we're going to see where we go from there, and then we'll write everything else on the fly, as we tend to do.
All right. Well, since I am leading this episode today, then I have the power to make you go first. So how about you grace us with your idea?
Okay, well, my big impetus for this reunion, which I envision as being like a 1 hour long ABC network, event. And it's a standalone event. They're not going to continue and then just, oh, well, this was such a success, we're going to do a season. No, this is it. This is all we're doing. This is all we're going to need to know about the Taylor family in 2017. I feel we give an introduction to kind of bring everybody up to speed. What is everybody doing? We kind of get a feel for life. We know that they moved to Indiana, and Jill was going to take a job with something in the psychology field. And I'm so sorry, I don't remember what the job was. I tried to research it and could not find anything in the wikis. And I remember watching this stuff back in 1999, but that was a long time ago. I don't remember what the job was. So I'm assigning her the job of being a college counselor. She's had a very successful career with that. Okay. She loves it. She enjoys it. She knows that she's doing good work, and it's been fantastic. Life has actually been pretty great in Indiana, whereas Tim has actually become a quote-unquote real handyman, has learned to do things properly, and has run a successful small business doing this. Well, that's well and good. I mean, you can kind of maybe tell in the background as we go through this that maybe Tim is a little bored. He's not completely fulfilled. I mean, you go down from doing a TV show to just being an average Joe, actually fixing things and not having a ton of fun with it. What do you do? I mean, he's kind of at a breaking point where he either needs to change careers or he's got to put a little twist in his life. He's getting bored. He's having his midlife crisis in a weird way. Meanwhile, the kids, they're all grown up. They've gone off and they've done things, and we could go into the details of that or not right now. That does not matter. But the big break, the big thing I want to pitch is that Jill loses her job. And that turns everything upside down. Okay. Because she's kind of been the big breadwinner for the family since they moved down. I mean, she's had the more dominant career. She's been making the most money. She's the most involved in life there. So when she loses her job, do they have a reason to stay in Indiana? And then we talked about this last week where we want to bring the band back together and they're going to do the show again, Tim and Al. And so then you bring that into the picture. And so then they have to make the choice. Do they do this or don't they?
Okay. Well, that's not too terribly different from my idea. But okay, so just a couple of minutes ago, I watched the last episode again.
Oh, that was very smart of you.
They actually don't move to Indiana.
Wait, okay, what? Oh,
yeah. No. Like it's fine. Like your premise still works. It absolutely works because here's the thing, is that I thought that too because the last image that you're left with of the show is them literally moving their house. Like yes. They uproot their house and put it on a barge and then move it down the river.
That is what I remember. Yes.
What that was, I thought so too. I did. For ever since 1999, that is what I thought would happen, or that's what I remembered what happened. What actually happens is that Al and Trudy have their wedding in Jill and Tim's backyard, and then they're gone, they're married and everything like that, and so it's just Jill and Tim in the backyard. They're having a nice moment. They're talking about, should we leave, should we not? And Jill tells them, listen, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave this house. I don't want to leave Detroit. I don't want to leave this life that we've made for ourselves. And he's like, okay, well, if that's really what you want. And he's like, if we ever do move, maybe we don't have to leave the house. And then a little imaginary thought bubble goes above his head. And it's a hypothetical situation of what happens if they move someday down the line. They'll take the house with them.
I'll be darned. That is what happens with memory degrading over time, is you remember the little bits and pieces, string it all together, because you and I both believe this. Like, we were talking about it off camera.
100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel awful now, because now we have to, unless you have a better idea, we have to find a way to retcon where ultimately they did move to Indiana if we use my idea, because that's what I said happened.
Here's my idea. Listen to my idea and see how you feel. I'll give the bare bones so that we can actually expound upon it if we want to. So they stay in Detroit. Tim stays with Tool Time and becomes the executive producer because that's what they were flaunting in front of him, because like he has his last episode of Tool Time, but it's such a ratings hit that they're like, oh crap, okay, like you're a ratings monster, you prove that you know what you're doing, we won't take the show away from you, we won't end the show, here's more money, and we'll make you an EP. And Tim doesn't want to say yes because he wants Jill to take that job. He wants Jill to get the job. And so she decides, no, I'm not going to take the job in Bloomington because I love our life here in Detroit. And so Tim's like, okay, fine, I'll continue as EP. Now, with that, in my mind, what happens is that he does that for a couple of years, maybe 5. Okay, like for 5 years. And just the economics of TV change, the economics of the station change, Detroit starts to plummet.
Yeah, they suffered horribly in the recession.
Absolutely. And so like, let's say that they get to the recession, but it was already dwindling well before then. And so let's say that Tim gets out right at the end of the recession. They cancel the show. But while the show's still going on, Jill gets her doctorate, not just her master's in psychology, so that she can actually have her own practice. And so she does have her own practice, and it's super successful. It's her practice, but she has other psychiatrists and psychologists that come on board and use the space and blah, 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 blah. So she's just like, this is her time. Tool Time was Tim's thing and Tim's time, and that kind of dominated the family for years. Over a decade. And so he's gladly encouraging Jill to do this and to like focus on her career and everything like that. And so he kind of, once Tool Time kind of fades and he realizes that he had some money saved away from Tool Time and Jill's job is going so well, he doesn't really do anything. He's just kind of like, okay, he's just going to stay home and like do projects.
Oh, I like it.
And like he just starts building things at home, he starts building a boat, and things go crazy and everything like that.
He's woodworking. He's taking up all sorts of things. He's becoming a Renaissance man, maybe.
Yeah. He's expanding his palette when it comes to home improvement and comes to other things like that. And so what happens is that he's even worse with electronics than he is with machines.
Oh my.
And like with the computer and everything like that. And so what happens is that, let's say Randy, okay, so like he's FaceTiming with Randy.
Okay.
But like Randy has to talk him through it. Wait, no, not Randy. No, I don't like Randy. Brad, the older one.
Okay.
The oldest son.
All right.
So he's FaceTiming with Brad, the oldest son, the blonde one. And Brad has a successful career with whatever the hell he's doing. It doesn't matter. He has like 1 or 2 kids. This is how he spends time with his dad, is through FaceTime. And so like hijinks ensue where it's just like, okay, how does this work? What's going on? And Brad asks him like, well, what are you building? And Tim shows him what he's building and goes through everything that he's doing and how he's doing it. Unbeknownst to Tim, Brad is recording this. He's screen recording it. And then he throws it up online.
Of course.
And it goes viral.
Yes.
And so like people are like, wait, weren't you that guy who had that show, like in Detroit? And so like everybody in the Michigan area was just like, oh yeah, I love that guy. Like why'd the show ever end and everything like that? And then so all of a sudden, because people in Michigan start talking about him online, people outside of Michigan see the clip and they're like, this guy's hilarious. And also I learned something about building. And then so Tim doesn't know about this, but all of a sudden like people start emailing him and like people stop him in the street saying like, hey, I saw the clip. And he's like, what are you talking about? What clip? What are you talking about? What's with the face tube and the whatnot, and things like that.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds like classic Tim Allen, by the way.
And then Brad comes back and says, hey, don't be mad, but I recorded you, put it up online, and it went gangbusters. And then he starts thinking, he's like, maybe this is what I can do with my time, is do a web show. And if I do a web show, maybe I should get my old partner back.
Right. Yeah, they do a web series and they do it with their own flavor and style. I like this idea a lot better than what I kind of was going to traject for Tim's next move, which was they weren't going to just bring back Tool Time, but they were going to kind of do sort of almost not quite a Mythbusters style, but sort of like a what not to do when you are learning home improvement, because now that he has so much experience under his belt and really does solidly know what he's doing, it's not the accidents anymore. He's doing them on purpose to show you how to avoid the mistakes. But this is even better. This is very 2017.
Well, we can combine the two. And so I want to say that So, like, you want to start running with this story?
I like your idea a lot better, and it actually fits the real continuity of everything, so let's run with it.
So one thing that I had in my head is that Al would have his own hardware store.
Right?
And so it's 1999 back then, and so his kids would be old enough to drive and like start going to high school and college and everything like that. So let's say that Al and Trudy have a gaggle of kids, just tons of kids, all wearing flannel, and they help out at the home improvement store, like at the
Oh boy.
like he owns like a True Value type deal.
Sure.
And
Now, how did that weather the recession? Was it okay, or is he still kind of trying to recover from that? Because Detroit.
I say that because it's in Detroit. Like, let's say that there's an interesting side story where, like Tim goes in all the time and everything like that, and he's going in for donuts. Like it's kind of like this recreation of the old hardware store. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe Al took over the hardware store.
Okay.
Like, actually, he might have done that in the show actually already.
Well,
I think he was a part owner in the hardware store, and so let's say that he expanded and like
okay,
just like
because I actually
built it up.
Yeah, now come to think of it, maybe he did, but with everything kind of just collapsing, I kind of wonder if like a local hardware store really would weather the recession, where maybe it got bought out a couple of times, has changed hands, but then he's always had a stake in the ownership. He didn't completely let go, but then maybe this web series, they find a way to marry the two and revitalize the business again.
Yes, I was kind of going in that direction too. So I'm glad that you're on the same page, because so Tim goes in and he talks to Al and says like, how are things going? He's like, I don't know, my brothers are telling me that I need to leave Detroit, but I don't want to leave Detroit. I want to stay in the city. In a year now, the city's going to be on the upswing and everything like that. Then they start having a conversation about how he's like, my kids were saying like the kids come by and say like, oh my God, Uncle Tim, like everybody's talking about you at school and stuff like that. And so that's when they have the idea. Tim has the idea. He's like, you know what? Why don't we work together again? We advertise the shop, and you can help me out with building materials. And so like the shop is the sponsor of the show, but we do it together. And so instead of Binford, it's Tool Time brought to you by
Al's Hardware. Something.
Yeah, something along those lines. And like Tim, like as the executive producer, somehow finagled to keep the rights to the name Tool Time.
Sure. Yeah, we can skip over the particulars of
Whatever,
that.
yeah.
It just happens. It's TV.
It just happens, yeah. And so, and then they go from there. And they like, Al's like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it.
And it's a huge hit right off the bat. I mean, they capitalize on the viral success, and suddenly they've got kind of like a renewed purpose again, even though it's sort of going back to what they were doing way back when.
Right. But it's just theirs. It's just the two of them. Maybe like Al's kids are filming it, with their iPhones and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe they do, I don't know, the promotion or something, Maybe
Yeah.
Brad is big, maybe he's big on PR or something of that nature.
Yeah, he's in marketing or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
That would be cool.
Okay, so we've established this. Jill's all on board because it gets him out of the house. It gets him, to do something, because she's tired of him just like lugging around the house and moping and everything like that. So where's the drama though?
Yeah.
What is the problem? What happens?
Well, what if we do marry the idea that I had with your story, and Jill loses her job and suddenly they're in a little bit of a financial hubbub? I mean, maybe Tim has to really, maybe he has to get a quote unquote real job again, because without her income, they can't afford to live. And then everything goes viral and things start to happen. Does that make sense?
Okay.
But there's your drama.
We're shifting structure a little bit, because in my mind, it would be like, this would be the revival of Tool Time would be towards the beginning. Like that would be the rising action.
And see, I'm thinking of it a little more toward the middle/end, where, hey, things really are going to work out okay, and look at how happy everything is toward the end. Happy ending.
Okay. Well then, so I think that's good, because I don't have an alternative.
Okay.
Where like it would be like, oh, this is the great thing, but then something goes horribly wrong.
Uh-huh.
So I guess that could be like towards the beginning, like things are going, yeah, let's do that, where things are going well. Tim doesn't have a job because he doesn't have to have one, because she's making such good money. But then something happens. And so how does she lose her job? Why does she lose her job?
Probably just good old cutbacks. Let's say she is a school counselor. She's working, I don't know, at a community college or a university. They're cutting back on staff.
Well, hold on a minute.
Okay,
Hold on
what's
a minute.
your bright idea then, sir?
We were going with my idea where she had her own practice.
Oh,
if
right.
you do
Okay.
recall.
Shoot. Okay. Well, that makes it a lot harder then because there's a lot more at stake there. There's a lot more pieces.
So how about this? Okay, how about this? She has a partner. So she has a very successful practice, but she has a partner and it's 50-50. They have a falling out. And he takes more than half of the clients. Like, he takes most of the clients. And so Jill comes home and says, "Oh man, what's his name? He left. He took the Rolodex and he's gone. He cut ties, he cuts business. And so now I only have a handful of clients. So we're going to have to start cutting back. Things aren't dire, but like life won't be able to stay the same. We're going to have to make some changes."
Okay, I kind of like that. Yeah, maybe her partner is just a real jerk and that's why he took so many of the clients with him. Like, he didn't do it in a good way. They were not necessarily just his clients, you know, he did a jerk thing.
Yeah.
And so then Jill has a little fraction of what she had and is going to stake it out on her own, but the rebuilding process is going to take a long time. That makes sense. That makes sense.
That way, we're not like, oh my God, are they going to lose the house? Are they going to be kicked out on the street? It's really just like, whoa, we cannot live as lavishly as we have been. Like, Tim, you're going to have to start pulling your weight. You're going to have to cut the projects down. And in classic Tim fashion, he's just like, well, I don't want to cut the projects down. Like, I don't want to stop spending money on my projects. And so all of this happens at the same time when Brad releases the viral video and everything like that. And so that in his mind, he's like, whoa, I can save the family as well as keep my projects.
There you go. Yeah. And then once everything's set in motion, they're home free.
Yeah. And so what are some of the things that New Age Tool Time would run into? Like, would they run into trolls? Would they have an issue with advertising money? Would Tim have a Twitter? Would they have to manage a Facebook page?
Oh.
You know, like, what kind of 2017 things would happen?
Well, no doubt they would. I mean, they'd have their YouTube channel. They'd have to have their press. Brad could be working PR through running the social media networks. Of course, they've got to be on Facebook and on Twitter and all of that fun stuff. I do think the YouTube comments are going to take them aback a little bit. Like, look at these old guys. You know, for as much as people like them, there's still some very horrible, rude things. And I think that might make a nice comedic bit.
Yeah. I'd love to see them screw around with 360 video on their shows.
Oh, that could be kind of fun.
We see this big whole bit where they plant a 360 camera in the middle of the shop, and then just the hijinks that ensue as they're just running around, and we see them run around the camera. Sparks are flying, you know, things are breaking, you know, like he's dangling off of a ladder and everything like that, and it's all in glorious 360. So I'm just imagining. See, that's the thing, is that like I'm seeing this more as a limited reunion series now, where they have like 6 episodes, kind of like X-Files did, instead of a TV movie.
Oh, really?
I am, because here's the thing, is that like I want to see that 360 episode. I want to see the episode where they get a Facebook page. I want to see an episode where, you know, they're building all of this, and I want to see an episode where maybe their numbers are down, and so they're like, okay, we got to bring somebody on, and so we have a special guest. You know, like I want to see those things happen, and you can't really do that all in one TV movie. Or maybe you can. Maybe I'm wrong, and you can do this in a 2-hour TV movie.
That is exactly where my mind was heading, was maybe we do more than 1 hour. We stretch it to 2. I think theoretically you could. I'm really not into the idea of stretching it out into several, like even a mini run of episodes. I feel like 6 even is too many, but then 3 is too little. Do we need all those details, though? Are they really that exciting? I love the 360 idea, but things like, oh, they've set up the Facebook page. Okay, so what? Everybody's got a freaking Facebook page.
Well, it wouldn't just be like, oh, watch Tim and Al set up a Facebook page. You know, like it wouldn't be that. It would be like they set it up and then a storyline would happen from that. But I'll totally cave because you convinced me. Let's do a 2-hour TV movie.
2
for this,
hours.
and then, you know, they can combine all of this where this is them like trying to maintain their viral success, because we all know that, you know, like just because you went viral doesn't mean you will maintain your viewership.
Right. Yeah, you get your 5 minutes if you're lucky of fame, but it just so happens maybe the kids, the kids go right to work. They jump on this, and that keeps things bumping.
Yeah. And so when I was talking about things that happen on Twitter with you have the 360 video and you have like everything like that happens after everything goes viral because they keep trying new things, but they're old guys trying new things with the help of kids online and everything like that. And so that's the story that gets us towards the end. And so the resolution is there, and then the struggle is them trying to maintain their audience, maintain interest, so that one, like Tim can get advertising money in order to keep the family afloat, and so Al can keep his business afloat,
right,
and everything like that. And so maybe that's where we get some of our continued drama, where it's up and down, where like, oh, the viewership is down, so the ad revenue is down, and so they got to try new things to get that consistent flow in. And so I think will serve both masters, where the initial drama at the beginning is Jill losing her job, and so Tim has to do this, and then it's maintaining that viewership until the end.
Okay. So then what is the conclusion necessarily? Because then we're kind of just fading off. I mean, the success is the happy apex moment, and then we're going to slide down just a little bit by trying to maintain it. What happens then? How are we resolving it?
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of resolution. There's got to be some sort of happy ending, some sort of button where here are two options, where one is everybody's happy. Jill, behind the scenes, somehow finds a way to get her clients back. Like, that's her storyline, that she's been struggling with that throughout the entire TV movie, is trying to get her clients back, trying to get her practice up and running again. And shows she succeeds. What she does is, like, maybe she finds a new partner who has, like, can have an influx of people.
No, I have a better idea. What if she gets an apology from her jerk ex-partner?
See, that's the thing, is that I don't know if I like that idea, because if somebody did that to me, you can't, like, if somebody does that to you in business, you can never trust them again. And I would never trust them again. So an apology would be nice, but we need a financial solution.
Hear me out. Maybe he realizes what a jerk he was. What he did was wrong. Maybe he's not doing so hot himself. Even though he took the lion's share of the clients, maybe he realizes he's a horrible businessman. He can't run things on his own. So he comes crawling back to Jill, and she says, "No, you ruined it." So he comes back with an apology, but she's standing up for herself because she's had enough of this crap.
That's fine. We can add that. We can add that to that.
So, I mean, Jill, she's going to be strong. She's going to stand her ground. She's not going to be pushed around, basically, is what I think that might be a good way to kind of resolve her storyline is, you know what? No, maybe things aren't so great right now, but you know what? I'm going to keep working hard, and they're going to be, and you made your own bed, mister. Now lie in it. We are through.
I think that's a great emotional arc for Jill, but I think we need a financial one as well. So hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out. This is the two endings that I was talking about that we could go, or if you think of something different, where Jill succeeds however she does, either by getting another partner or pulling herself up by her own bootstraps. And so she goes to Tim and says, okay, you don't have to work anymore. You don't have to worry about the success. You can stop. Like, you can stop doing the show because we're fine. And here's the two ways that can go. Their viewership is horrible. It was viral at the beginning, but they could not maintain their audience. They could not maintain, like, people's interest. Their follower count their subscriber count on YouTube went way down. Their follower count on Twitter and Facebook and everything like that went way down. So they can say, like, okay, well, maybe we'll just do this because we love doing it. Maybe it's, it's not so much because we're not doing it for the ad revenue. We can focus on things that we love instead of just the gimmicks. Like, we don't have to screw around with 360 video. We don't have to worry about pissing anybody off on Twitter or anything like that. Like, we can just do the projects we love, and maybe people will come back because of that genuine love that we have for it.
Yeah.
And then, like, I'd say that that's a realistic ending because you can't always maintain viewership or audience numbers.
Right.
Or we can have the happy-go-lucky where Jill is like, hey, I saved the day and I got my practice back, and Home Improvement just has such a wild success that they get even bigger corporate sponsorship. And they offer to buy out Al's Home Improvement store, but says that he can stay in Detroit if he wants to. And so, like, that's the happy-go-lucky, everybody's amazing ending versus the much more realistic in 2017 ending. What do you think?
I am much more a fan of the 2017 realistic ending because I think, yes, it is more realistic. It's a little more relatable, But also, I just love the way that resolves where Jill is going to make just enough money for them to get by. And I love the idea of Tim really just trying to keep thinking of more and more outrageous things to keep getting the views. And then the harder he tries, the more they fall.
Right.
So then he comes to that realization of, oh, you know what? Okay, financially, this is not going to be the hit that I was hoping it would be. But I'm going to keep doing it because I love it. And I'm going to do it as if nobody's watching. And so then you know what? Then maybe they have a steady, loyal audience. Maybe it's not huge.
Yeah.
But they have a following. And that's good enough. And he does it because he loves it. And I think that's a nice little moral of the story. And we end on a happy enough note.
I think that's the way to go. How do we resolve Al's storyline, like his problem with the home improvement store and everything like that?
Maybe the viralness of the videos and doing the web series is just enough to help it squeak by. He's going to be okay.
He's like, we're not living like hogs, but we'll be all right. We'll be good for another year.
Yeah. They're getting by. Again, good enough. It's not a raging success. They're not multimillionaires, but you know what?
Yeah.
Neither are a lot of us. So that is okay. So there we go. I think we've got it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we were able to blend a lot of our ideas, and I like that added emotional arc to Jill. I think that grounds her a little bit more in the series and gives her more to do than just be this person behind the scenes who makes the money.
Right. Yeah, we need something for her too, definitely. Because, I mean, really, she and Tim, they're the big characters in this. The kids are going to be very much secondary. We hardly did anything with them.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with not seeing the kids and only seeing Brad on FaceTime here and there. Like, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. We also have to consider, let's just say this was going to possibly be a real thing. It might very well be possible. Maybe Jonathan Taylor Thomas does not want to come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have a trapdoor. You don't have to include them if they don't want to come back.
And also the actor who played Wilson passed away. So,
right.
Like we couldn't bring him on, obviously. And you wouldn't want to replace his character with an actor. No. So.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. So I think we went in the right direction.
Yeah, I do think, though, it would be very sweet somehow to acknowledge that.
Yes, yeah. There needs to be a wink and a nod to Wilson not being there.
Yeah, the reunion would not be complete without that, but yes, we do need to. That is about all we need to do, though.
Maybe they don't even reference it, but on their fence, hanging on their fence is Wilson's hat.
I love it. That's perfect.
Yeah, like as a memorial, as a reminder that he's always there, at the fence giving advice even though he's gone.
Maybe, just maybe, you could even be a little more in your face. Like when things start going bad, you could have Tim put in a line of just, gosh, what would Wilson say to me right now? I really wish he was here. He would know exactly what to do.
I like that. Yeah, that's good.
That'd be very sweet. And then you acknowledge it, and then it's there, and you go on.
And then you move on. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. We have our home improvement revival, our TV movie, our reunion show.
Yes, our 2-hour spectacular, and then no more.
I think that was pretty good.
Honestly, I would watch that.
Yeah, I would too.
I would watch it because it's 2 hours of my life. It's not going to be completely wasted. I'm going to be entertained. I'm going to enjoy it. And then I can get on with my life to the next best thing.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening. And please subscribe. And please go to thenerdparty.com for all of our episodes, as well as all of our other shows. We have new content from the Nerd Party coming to you every single day of a week. So please go there and check out what your favorite flavors are, because we have something for everybody. And also go to facebook.com/the Nerd Party. Give us a like and start a conversation, as well as find us on Twitter @Join Nerd Party, where we have our nerd question of the day. We try to give it to you every day, but comes a little less frequently than that. Just
comes out whenever it comes out, man.
Yeah, well, there you go, man.
We're a little spontaneous. We'll keep you hanging. Maybe there is one, maybe there isn't.
And please also talk to us about, like, what did you think of this revival? What would you have done differently? Or what's a revival that you would have liked to have seen instead of Home Improvement? Go to thenerdparty.com/contact, select Punch It from the drop-down menu, send us an email. And, Shar, where can we find you on Twitter?
You can hit me up at Oh the Profanity and let me know if you're as exhausted of nostalgic reboots and revivals as I am.
And you can find me at The Insane Robin. And you know what? I'm pretty happy with this with this episode because it definitely has more power because we punched it.
Ready for warp, sir. Let's punch it.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.